This is the Extra Point Podcast from Arizona's family.
All right, let's talk racing and Arizona's favorite racing son with a big win over the weekend. Michael McDowell now with victories in Daytona and Indianapolis, and he's locked in to the playoffs. Of course, the championship race is coming to Arizona in November. Let's talk to the man himself. Michael McDowell zooms into the Extra Point Podcast. First of all, congratulations. What a win over the weekend.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was such a special moment. Obviously Daytona 500 is hard to beat, but winning at Indianapolis at the Brickyard is a close second for sure. It's a special moment for this team and, for myself and my family, having my family there with me. So yeah, big weekend. It was a cool experience and such a fast, dominant car. So, we're taking it in, we're enjoying it.
So what were the biggest differences for you jumping out of the car in Daytona and knowing your family was watching but couldn't be there, and then jumping out of the car and having the family right there? What would take me inside those emotions if you could?
Yeah, it's completely different. Because, at Daytona, when we won, when I was in the car, it was just outer body experience. It felt like, it was just so crazy, just the raw emotions of it. But then when you get to victory lane and you realize, they got protocols and you can't have people here and there's no fans and no family, then it all kind of started to sink in a little bit. Still a great experience. I wouldn't trade it for the world. It was awesome. But I bring my family to these particular races knowing that there's a chance we can win. And if we do, that they would be there. So it's not an afterthought. It's an intentional thing. And so this was very different. I mean, when I crossed the checkered flag, that's the first thing I thought of. It's like, this is so cool. My family's here and get to experience it. And a lot of that is because, this is what we do. This is what we've done as a family. They've traveled with me everywhere. We've been on the road for a long time. And so they've been a part of the struggles and the tough times, and so as things have gotten better and better the last few years, I've been telling them, like, yeah, we're gonna go, we're gonna get an opportunity, it's gonna happen. And when we're loading up in the car heading to the airport, they always ask, like, hey, is this a good track for you? Is this one that we could maybe go to victory lane? Is this a good one for you? And I'm like, yes, this is a good one, and so it's an ongoing conversation in our household. It's not just something that randomly we talked about or it happened. So it's a really special moment.
Well, I tell you what, it was a special moment for us here in the AZ Family Newsroom. I mean, I don't know if we can top the Daytona 500 when everybody's like, oh my God, he just won the Daytona 500, and everybody's going crazy. Elliot Polikoff, our reporter, came over and we couldn't believe it. But I tell you what, our producer, Matt Hippie, who joins us now on the Extra Point Podcast, he is a NASCAR nut, absolutely loves it. He said last week that I think Michael McDowell has a chance to win. He felt that he called his shot. So, Matt, how does it feel to have called his shot and now be talking to the champ?
Oh, it's great. I've been watching you run all year long, and it seems like you're consistently up there in the top 10, top 15, even if the results don't always show it. It was really cool to actually see you get that win in such a dominating way too, and on a tricky track like that. So I have a few questions for you. Number one. Yeah. Up until the last few weeks, Ford teams as a whole have kind of struggled a bit. And then yesterday on Denny Hamlin's podcast, you talked a bit about the resource limitations that Front Row has, like access to the Hawkeye and stuff like that. Yeah. But even so, you guys this year have been running really well, you and Todd both. What has been the secret at Front Row that you guys have been able to kind of exceed those expectations, probably where most people expect you guys to run?
I think that, it's never one thing. And I believe it's the same in any industry, right? So we have gotten better because of people, like better people and better processes and procedures. There hasn't been like this crazy influx of cash or anything like that, right? But our relationships and our partnerships and even our relationship with Ford, everything each year has just gotten a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. And we've had some momentum to build on. Now, it's not the same momentum that you see at like Hendrick or Gibbs, where they just go on a run and they win 4 or 5 races. But like what you were saying, Matt, is we went from running 15th to running 13th to running 12th to running 11th and doing that more consistently. So it's been a less flashy build, but we've been building and getting better, in small increments. And I think that it's just now you're at the point where the jump is big, where not that we made a big jump, but when you're running fifth, people are like, oh, yeah, they're having a great day. Well, the difference between running fifth and first is really, really tight. It's really close. And so at Indy, we just hit everything just right. Setup was perfect. Everything was perfect. And we went from being a fifth place road course car to being a dominant one. And now everyone's like, wow, where did they find the speed? Well, really, it's been there. It's just been a few little things that we've had to get better to really show it. And, if you go back to Sonoma, we qualified in the top 5 there. I think we qualified third, ran second most of the race, had a shot. So it's not super surprising to us that we're in the fight. But I think for a lot of people, they're like, where did this come from? And I think we've been inching up on it for the last, 2 years. So yeah, it's good. It's a fun time right now, and we're enjoying it.
Well, speaking of that, how much of this current success that you guys are having at Front Row, how much of that do you think can trace back directly to your Daytona 500 win? I mean, that's about 2.5 years ago. A win like that can do wonders for an operation. So how much do you think can be traced back to that? Do you think you'd be in the same place you are today if you hadn't won at Daytona in 2021?
No, I think it all helped and it all matters. I think that the win was significant, but it didn't change our processes or procedures or a lot at our shop. But I think a few things happened. I look at it a little differently just because I got the behind the scenes, right? We were building towards that Daytona 500 win, just like we've been building towards this IndyCar or this Indy road course win. To me, it wasn't like just an overnight thing. We had run top 5 at a lot of speedways and been really close. And so our program was then too getting better and better, especially in those areas. But what it did help with is it just helped solidify our team in regards to perception, getting better people, because it's a fun place to go work because you're running well and you're doing well. So I do think that all those things helped in financially and helping momentum and helping belief too. Like just people at the shop just believe in like, hey, yeah, we're small and there's a few things that we don't have, but we can do it. We just proved that we did. And that's in 2021. And that kind of helped change maybe some of the mindset and belief. But it wasn't like all of a sudden we won and then we had a $5 million increase in partnership and ton of support here or there. Wasn't any big like tangible things that you could really wrap your hands around, but it was those subtle things of knowing that we can do it, confidence, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. So yeah, I do think it helped, but it wasn't a big swing.
Yeah, so from the team to yourself, you have firmly established yourself as one of the best road course racers on the Cup Series right now. You've scored more points in the Gen 7 car than any other driver has on road courses. Who would you say are your driving influences? Like as you were developing your racecraft, were there any drivers you looked up to either as a kid growing up or competitors in the garage or teammates even? Like who do you model yourself after, if anybody?
Yeah. So as far as growing up, like being a kid and being a fan, and, I was watching Formula One racing and IndyCar racing. So I was always pulling for Michael Schumacher and the Andretti's. That was kind of our guys that we pulled for. As far as modeling driving style or anything like that, it would be hard to say. But there's different seasons of my driving career where people were really influential. And like you said, whether that was a teammate, Mamo Gidley is one of the guys that stands out to me the most of just not so much that I drive like him, but I learned so much about what it takes to be really good, like his discipline and the work ethic. And he modeled for me what it means to take this serious and to be a full-time driver and dedicate your life to it. because you just don't know unless you've seen it, right? And so he kind of set that standard, that bar for me, and that bar was really high. And then, throughout the years, there's been guys that have, helped when you're in a slump or you're trying to figure out something, or, you're just a student and trying to learn. But as far as, modeling or trying to figure out a certain style, like I'm a student of the sport. I study a lot of data. I look at a lot of film, and I'm looking at the best guys and what they do and what makes them good at what they do at particular places, because it's not like, oh, you got this guy, he's just the best at this. I break it down into who's the best at flat short tracks, who's the best on the road courses, who's the best at super speedways, and I study their data to see what I can learn. So you're always learning and trying to find new tricks and find any kind of advantage you can get.
Well, that was another thing you talked about on the podcast, was you do your own SMT research. You pull all that up and you look at it. You don't have engineers who do it for you. What specifically are you looking for in that data, if there's a way to even explain it to someone who can't look at it themselves? What are you looking for to try to learn from it?
Well, you can learn a lot from it, and that's not the only tool that we have. We have a lot of resources available to us, throughout the weekend, and from onboard cameras of other cars to the live feeds on the track, where you got fixed cameras that are picking up different corners. And so there's a lot of information that you can process. And so you got to have a pretty good filter, if that makes sense, because you can look at a lot and you can just kind of confuse yourself. And so I try to pinpoint certain areas that I have doubts or questions about, that I feel like, oh man, I'm just not quite getting this turn or this down. What are they doing? And when you see the data, it helps you see kind of what they're doing from a physical standpoint. But it's really deeper than that. Is you have to figure out from a psychological standpoint what made them decide or to choose to do that. What were the things that led them to make that decision that I'm going to do this way? Because copying somebody isn't going to make you better. Figuring out what they saw or felt that led them to make that adjustment, that was a gain. So there's a lot to it. It's you can spin yourself out really quickly if you don't have a good filter on what you're looking at.
Yeah, that's super interesting stuff. I've always been very curious about that. And then finally, my last question for you is, I have a quote for you, and I want to see if you recognize it and can name who said this quote.
Oh, no.
All right. So this is about being a race car driver. Quote, "It's not really hard. It's just a lot of things going on. You got to watch what you're doing, got to be aware of your surroundings, and got to be focused." Do you know who said that?
Yeah, me as a kid.
Yeah, that's 12-year-old Michael McDowell.
Yeah.
Is that still your approach? Is that your
same
foundation of racing?
Yeah, it really is. It really is. It takes a level of mental toughness and laser focus to do what we do at a high level. For a lot of guys, that seems like it comes naturally or organically. They don't have to work really hard at it. You see raw talent like a Tony Stewart or a Kyle Larson, and not that those guys aren't students and work really hard, but they just have this natural giftedness that allows them to do extraordinary things. And for me, it's been a little bit more work. I feel like I've had to work hard at refining and figuring out those things. So yeah, the focus side of it for sure.
Hold on.
So we after your win on Sunday, we pulled that up and we posted on AZ Family YouTube as part of our Video Vault series.
Cool. Hold on. Can we see this? Can we see this?
Yeah. Let's watch this real quick.
What year was this? Was it 96?
Oh, I don't remember. I was just a kid. Yeah, it's awesome.
So not much changes.
Yeah, not much has changed. Yeah.
How many times have you seen that in your life?
Early on a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
early on we used to watch that a lot. It was a cool moment. And then obviously winning the 500 and hanging out with you guys down there and seeing it. So yeah, it's cool. It's neat to see.
How many texts from the great state of Arizona came in after your win in Indy?
Oh, I don't know. You guys would be blown away though of how long it took me. I mean, I am thankful for every text. I really am. Um, but it got to a point yesterday where I was probably 6 hours into it, and I'm like, I'm never gonna be able to text everybody back, you know. And but yeah, it's I couldn't tell you how many because at one point I had 500 unanswered, and I started answering them, and I probably answered them for an hour, and then I like pulled back out, and I was still at like 450, and I'm like, no way, I had to do at least 100 of them, but they just kept coming in, kept coming in, kept coming in. So I should have waited like 2 or 3 days and just let it pile up and see how many it was. But you know, it's cool. There's so many people that are pulling for you and want to see the best for you. And two, there's so many people that have helped me along, you know, the 30-year journey that I've been on racing, right? From those days at the go-kart track to now. And it's not everybody gets to live out their dream in such a way. And so it's cool to reconnect with a lot of people. And it's neat to have them excited for you and to be excited. And so, yeah, so it was a long day yesterday for sure.
If I would have told you that would have been the case with your phone when maybe things weren't going your way, when you were looking for a ride, and you would have 500 text messages to answer one day after winning at Indy, what would you have told me back then?
Yeah, you know, I don't know. I have great people around me, you know, and yeah, you get a lot of texts when it's going good, and I know it's easy to say when it's going bad, it's not, but I've never really felt like that. I think the people that have supported me and helped me throughout my career have been there through the highs and the lows, you know? And yeah, there's probably 100 in there that only send you a text when something like this happens, right? But for the most of the replies, and honestly, that's why it took me so long. It wasn't just like a reply all generic, you know, thanks. It was particular to people that I know that have had an impact or been a part of, you know, my career, and you don't want to just blow it off. So yeah, it's cool.
And for you to now be locked in to the playoff here and have a chance to come home and compete for a championship, what does that mean to you at this point in your career?
You know, that part hasn't really sank in too much, and it's not like I haven't thought about it. It's great that we're locked into the playoffs, but we've been kind of enjoying the moment of just taking it in, and you know, today at the shop with all the employees and everybody here, and so I haven't got really like locked into that first round of what it's going to look like and what we need to do, and I'm just kind of taking it 1 week at a time. But you know, just looking at last year, we were actually decent in those that first round had we been in. I know we weren't, so it's different, but we would have pointed our way in with the results that we had last year in that first round. So it is possible for us to continue to move on. And then when you look at round two, that's really strong for us. You got Texas, you have Talladega, and you have the Charlotte Roval. Those are all places where we can challenge for a win, and I think we'd have a good shot at scoring a lot of points. So the way that it plays out, we know that there's some tracks there that, man, we'll be thankful to run 15th. We know that, and we know where we're at. But there's tracks on that first round and that second round that we could probably get it done. And if we don't make too many mistakes and just do our deal, we could probably surprise a lot of people. So I'm looking forward to it. It's a journey, man. The whole thing's a journey and a process, but right now we're enjoying the win. You know, I know that these don't come easy. It's 450 some races into it. I got 2 of them. So I'm trying not to get too far in front of that. I'm just trying to enjoy it and take it in and enjoy the moment, be prepared for Watkins Glen. Feel like now's the time for us. Our cars are good. Our road course program's good. We could go to Watkins Glen and do the same thing. And so just focusing on that right now and trying to not get too stressed out about what the playoffs could look like.
Well, hey, we thank you for always carving out some time for us here on Arizona's Family. It's so much fun to watch, and yeah, you're part of the family here. Matt actually put that story from when you were a kid up on YouTube recently, so we'll go ahead and show that on the show tonight. And
cool. Awesome.
You can share it with the masses.
All right, sounds good. Thanks.
Thanks, Michael.
All right, thank you guys.
The Extra Point Podcast is a production of 3TV, CBS5, and azfamily.com in Phoenix, Arizona.